Good morning, everybody. I'm Deborah Byrne from DBpsychology service, known as DBpsychology across the social media. This morning, I'm going to talk about relationships and improving communication in those relationships. I'm hoping this will work because the weather is particularly bad this morning here in Wexford. So living in rural Ireland, our internet service is not that good. And I apologise if the video breaks up. So I'm going to preface all of what I'm going to say with a word of caution. The word of caution is, sorry, I just got a message up on my screen. I apologise. So the word of caution would be that you, if you feel unsafe, never talk to somebody if feeling unsafe. It doesn't matter who they are, what the relationship is with them. Never go ahead and confront them or use any of the tips I'm going to talk about this morning, with them, because you may end up putting yourself in an even worse position than you already are. Now, the second thing about these tips, although I'm addressing couples this morning, these type of communication tips will help in any relationship. Whether you're in, it's a work environment, you're on your own business, if it's with family, if it's with friends, if it's just with anybody you meet, they should help. They do work. Now, they do take practice. Some techniques, unless you've had very good role models and you saw these techniques modelled as a child, as a young adult, then you should be flying. Okay, if that was the way it was for you. But for most of us, we didn't see that. We didn't see these types of techniques being used. So what I would suggest is that you take your time, that you practice, that you don't use them in a row. If you're having an argument with somebody, don't start to use them then. What you want is small steps. You want to use those small steps to build your self-confidence, to get these techniques, these habits, because they are habits, in place, and then you can use them. They become natural, they become a natural thing for you to say, and you'll be able to use them without having to stop and think. Okay, now I'm going to just go through some of them, but if you want to check out, there is a section on getting angry. If you're angry and you want to communication around anger, I have listed out some techniques at the bottom of the blog, so you can go ahead and check out that section of the blog. The only thing I would very much suggest is, with anger, wait. Sorry. Use a time out. And either use a time out, it depends on the level of anger. If something bad has happened with the person that you're in the relationship with, you may need to put in place the 48-hour rule. Now, the 48-hour rule would be, you'll take 48 hours, you'll go off, you'll calm down, you'll distract yourself, you'll do things like, watch TV, you'll talk to friends, you'll talk to family, but maybe not about what's going on, because that'll only just fuel your anger. But actually distract yourself and take yourself away from that and calm down. Go to the gym, go for a walk, go whatever you need to do to calm down. And then when you're calm, don't just jump into it. Don't just jump back into it. I would suggest that you actually stop and think about what it was that happened that you're angry about, why you're angry. Was it about the other person, or was it something they said, or what it was exactly was said? And then best thing is to actually write it down. Write down what you need to say to the other person. And if you can't actually then when you go and talk to the other person, if you can't actually bring yourself to say it, or you can't remember everything that you want to say, at least you have it in writing and you have your points that you want to make, and you can do that. But I have more steps at the end of the blog, so do check it out. Now, with regards to just improving general communication within the relationship, having a checkup, having a check-in really is what you need to be doing. So as a couple, even if you've got kids, you're working, you need to be having a date, have a date night, have time to check in. You don't have to go out. It could be just simply after dinner, kids are in bed, once a week, checking in. How's your week going? How are you? Is there anything we need to talk about? Now, I will say something about finances here. Finances should be discussed between both parties. You're both responsible for them. It shouldn't be left to the other one party to deal with them. You should both be sitting down and, discussing the finances, getting out your bills. This is what we're going to pay this month. This is what we're going to pay this week. Divvy up the wages, and if possible, and if you do have some spending money, that you each then get some spending money to spend on yourself. So other than that, I'll just go into general communication. The first thing I would say to you is be honest. Honesty is the best policy, even when it hurts. But if you're coming from a place of honesty, you have to, in a relationship, you have to come from a place of honesty. You really do. And you need to work this out beforehand. You need to work this out, how you're going to communicate with one another in the relationship, how you're going to raise your kids, how you're going to deal with finances. All this should be worked out maybe in advance when you start to think about moving in together. A lot of the times we don't think about these things. So the other place I would say is always admit when you're wrong, and that you're not perfect. None of us are perfect. We're all perfectly perfectly human, as they say. So we can't be right 100% of the time. And I know for some people that can be hard to admit to, but you're better off. This is part of being honest. You're better off just saying, okay, I got it wrong. Hands up, I got it wrong. I'm sorry. Learn to apologize. Guys, you need to learn to apologize. It's part of, good communication, is say, okay, I'm very sorry for what I did. Now, if you don't understand what you did, use your I statements and say, I feel you're angry with me. Can you tell me what I did wrong? I genuinely do not know what I did wrong. And ask them to tell you what you did wrong. Now, if they're angry and getting frustrated with you, take that time out. Do take that time out and step away. Step back, step away, and allow the other person to calm down just as much as you would appreciate being allowed to calm down. And this comes up to the point of finding the right time to talk. And as I said, the right time to talk, if you're checking in with each other at least once a week, you're sitting down having the conversations, then this meeting's going to come up. But if something has come up that can't wait, well then have that conversation. It might be appropriate to have the conversation immediately, particularly if you've got kids pulling out of you or you're both in work. Certainly do not have conversations over the phone, by text, by email. Don't do that. It leaves it open to a lot of miscommunication. So you're going to maybe have to hold off and wait until you see each other and sit down, and it's face-to-face communication. Making eye contact with the other person is important. Now, it's not a stare down, the OK Corral, gunfight at the OK Corral type of thing. It's you're making eye contact, you're engaging with the other person, you're empathizing with them, that you feel you can understand what they're saying from their point of view. So in that sense, then you would use your I statements. And this is the part you need to really practice, is saying it from, you make me feel. Don't do that. Okay. I feel this way when you do this. Say it as in, I feel when you do. Okay. It's I feel. I think Okay? It's about you. It's your feelings, your thoughts. It's not about the other person. So always bring it back and always start it with the I or we. Okay? Because when you use you statements, when you make me feel, you do this, when you start doing that, the other person is then going to go, ooh, and start becoming defensive. And that's not a good place to begin any conversation. Nobody can make you feel anything. Nobody can make you think anything. It's your thoughts, your feelings, and you have to take ownership as an adult. You have to take ownership of that and come from a place of your own self, your own authentic self, of how you feel and how you think. And you are expressing your emotions. Okay? So always use the I statements. And in saying that, when the other person has spoken and you remain silent while they are speaking, don't interrupt them. Don't start wandering off in your thoughts, oh, how am I going to respond to this? How am I going to what's my comeback on this? Try and train yourself to actually step back and listen, genuinely listen to what the other person is saying. And in order for them to feel that you have heard them, you will need to start practicing things like, is this what I think you said? This is what I heard. Is that correct? Repeat back a couple of the things that they have said to you, and maybe ask them, if you're not sure, was that what you said? Ask them for clarity. So in reflecting back, using your I statements and then reflecting back to them what you think you heard, you're going to improve the level of conversation. You're going to reduce the confrontation level. You're going to, they're going to feel you're empathizing with them. They're going to feel like you are hearing what they are saying. And you would expect that they will then do it with you. So the point in the blog I make is that if you are a couple, that you both read the blog and you both start practicing these statements, these I statements, these empathizing, this, did I hear what you said? Is this what you said? Can you clarify that? Now, if you both read it together and you're both practicing together, it's a good way of improving your relationship too. The next point I would like to make is in regards to if you have a problem, again, you're going to come at it from a solution. You're a team. It's team us, okay? There's you in the relationship, there's your partner in the relationship, and then there's team us, okay? That's the relationship itself. The relationship itself is a third party, okay? And you need to work on that relationship in order to keep it going. And this is part of this, that the blog is to help you do that. And team us, when they come to a problem, they're going to come at it from a solution based. Okay? So you then turn around and say, well, okay, if I did this then and you did that, what do you think? Do you think this would work? And don't ever think that it's not okay to say, I'm stuck. Hey, guys, I'm stuck. I'm sorry, I just don't know what to do here. Perhaps we need somebody else to help us. Perhaps, just say, I'm stuck. What do you think? This is again, admitting you're wrong, admitting you don't have the answers to everything that's going on in your lives, that you, maybe the other person can help you. Maybe they can't. Maybe the other person in that relationship can't work it out either. And you need to go to a third party and say, we're having problems. And we can't find a solution to this particular problem. The next thing I would say to you is just going down through my notes. I'd love to have a brilliant brain where I remembered everything off the top of my head, but I don't. The other thing is communication is to be willing to listen. As I said, to be willing to listen, to be open to what the other person has said, and to actually don't forget that you can admit you're wrong, and to admit that that you don't know everything. Okay, I've gotten ahead of myself. And I'm sorry. But I think I've actually covered everything there now. Sorry, I think I've covered everything that is in the blog, apart from the communicating if you're angry, which I have at the end of the blog. If you go to the end of the blog, there's a points that say, if you're angry, take the time out and use if it's very bad, use the 48-hour rule. But if it isn't too bad, if you're just starting to get into a argument with your partner, then I would suggest that you just take time out. Go off for an hour, go off, just calm down. I know people have said don't go to bed on an argument and things like that, but if it means that the row doesn't escalate, okay, so don't allow it to escalate. You're taking the time when you're getting angry. That's when you're taking the time out and stepping back and going, okay, I have to invoke the 48-hour rule, or I need to take a break here. I need to take an hour. I need to calm down. I'm getting angry. I don't want to say anything that will hurt you, and I apologize. I just need to take a few minutes to think. Okay? Don't ever be afraid to do that. In a good, healthy relationship, both should be able to recognize that when the other person is angry, they need time out. It doesn't mean that the conversation has ended. It doesn't mean that the matter isn't resolved, is never going to be resolved. It just means that the person needs to take time out to deal with their anger in an appropriate way, and then to come back, and as a couple, both and both calmer, that you would then talk to each other again, and the problem will then get resolved in a more rational and adult way. So there are a number of other tips that I put into the blog, so do check them out. They're on www.DBpsychologyservices.com, and I'm hoping that the weather here on the internet has held up on this video. I do apologise if it is broken up. As I said, rural Ireland isn't great for internet service at times. So I'm going to say goodbye this morning to you, and thank you very much for Colette and Jennifer for joining me this morning. And I will talk to you again next week. Goodbye.